Hi, I'm Aaron, and this is Brain 10, where we do 10 brainstorming ideas each day, whether it's about small business or tech. And this is my partner, co-host.
Christian.
All right, so we'll just jump right in here. Number one. So we're doing 10 things today. 10 ways to save time on social media. Everybody's on social media, but a lot of people get distracted on how much time they spend on Facebook, or they just end up browsing around and don't end up getting their content out there. So we're going to give you some tools and tips to save a bunch of time on social media. So number one, I think is the most important, and that is finding an automation software, whether it's Buffer, Hootsuite, or something more robust like HubSpot or SproutSocial. These will allow you to schedule posts ahead of time. And I guess we still have to tell them that we are not affiliated with Buffer or Hootsuite or SproutSocial or anything like that. We do personally use Hootsuite, although I think we may be transferring over to something like Buffer as it's an easier platform. But anyway, any of these items can work and help you schedule your time, cut down your time, at least from what we're doing right now, by 50%. Now, we do say that you should schedule 50 to 75% of your posts, but when it's commenting back to people or engaging, make sure that you do actually still engage with them. But number one is getting a social platform to help schedule you the posts ahead of time.
All right, so moving on to number two, filling in some of the gaps that you can't do with these automation softwares is what comes to mind is basically two websites. One is If This Then That, also abbreviated IFTTT, and Zappier, Zappier. Both of these, they're kind of sort of like automation softwares too. But what they do is they connect two different services. So, for example, something that you can do with it is you can automatically set up a Google spreadsheet on your drive, on Google Drive. And so it tracks every post that you post to Buffer, for example. So that way you have a curated list of all the things that you've already posted to Buffer. Other things that we've used it for, sometimes if you want to post the same picture that you have on Instagram and you want to post the same thing on Twitter, you can also do that. But usually when you do that from the Twitter app or from the Instagram app, all it does on Twitter is post a link. So you have to get out of Twitter and go to Instagram and check out that image.
Right.
With IFTTT, when you post that, it automatically sends that same picture to Twitter. And you can actually see the picture that you posted onto Instagram, which is pretty cool. And it also adds a link to it. So you'll be able to click on it and go to Instagram. There's a whole bunch of formulas and stuff inside of IFTTT or Zappier where you can actually look and see, what two combinations or what you want to create as far as automation. And it's really, really cool. Really, both of them are really, really cool tools to check out. And I definitely recommend both of them.
And I use the IFTT, I can't think of the acronym, If This and That acronym for my Instagram post, and the engagement from when I used to just post directly from Instagram to Twitter, I'd get a couple of clicks on it, but I would say it's tenfold as far as the engagement that I get because people are able to see the image. Twitter grabs the image from Instagram and puts it and collects it as a full image, so it just looks a lot more native to the Twitter app, which a lot higher engagement. Okay, so we're on number three. Feedly is something that I use quite a bit. Feedly, I believe, is a Google app, and what it is a list of websites or interests that you have all in one location, and you can quickly look at any type of article that you have. So whether you're looking at Entrepreneur Magazine, whether you're looking at stuff from Gary Vaynerchuk or somebody else who's putting out a blog, you can put all of your content in one area and quickly flip through everything very quickly. Now, the Feedly Pro is probably something that you could use as well. The Feedly Pro is like $40 to $50 a year, so still pretty cheap, but it allows you to directly send articles to Hootsuite or to LinkedIn. So if you find an article and you want to write something about it, or if you want to share it, you can click a button and it sends it there instantly. I personally don't have the paid version. I just have the free version, but I'm able to copy the link from the website, create my own bit.ly link, and then just put it into Twitter from Hootsuite or Buffer or anything like that.
Very cool. Just as a reminder, this list of 10 things, we always post the video on our YouTube page. And within that YouTube page, you'll be able to see the whole list with the description and everything that we have for the 10 list that we do every day. So just in case you're missing something or anything like that, or you want to ask a question, you can ask on the comments too. So
I just posted a link. Cool. That's very cool.
Okay, so moving on to number 4. This is an app that I've used maybe a few times. I use Photoshop and Illustrator just because that's what I've been using for years. But to people who don't necessarily have the time or money to invest in Photoshop and Illustrator and all those really expensive tools, there's things like Canva. So Canva is, I mean, it's out there. People know about it. But it's basically, it's an online application. I believe it's canva.com. You go there and you can create your own custom graphics for any type of social media. So that is, Facebook banners, Facebook profile pictures, Instagram posts, all those things. Canva already has, fonts, it has graphics already pre-cut for you to use, on those social media accounts. It's really cool, really simple to use, drag and drop software. The only thing is they do charge you when you want to create maybe something a little bit more sophisticated. And they do charge you, like $1 for each graphic and stuff like that. There's also
which is still pretty cheap.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Besides Canva, also Buffer released what they call Pablo recently. Pablo is just like a baby version of Canva. And with Pablo, you can still create all these things, but it's a very simplified version of it. So they allow you to basically put a background picture, some text, and maybe add some blur, black and white, things like that.
Contrast. I think you can do contrast.
Right. So if you're on the go, if you want to create something, quick, easy on the go for maybe Instagram or Twitter or something like that, Pablo would probably be the way to go. I think their slogan is like you can create a custom graphic in like 30 seconds or less or something.
Right. Yeah, that's it. That's exactly what I was going to say, actually. Yeah, I mean, I use Canva because he's more of the Photoshop guru type person, but I mean, you can still create beautiful images, and most of the time people don't know whether you use Photoshop or whether you use Canva, and it's literally probably less than half or more than half the time. Okay, so another way to cut time on social media is to create Twitter lists. This allows you to engage with your top customers or people that you're trying to follow once you put them into a group. So say for Christian and I, we have people who are interested in social media or web design. We can put those followers that we have into a list, and if they have questions or whether they're engaging with us or whatever's going on in their feed, we're able to see everything through that list a lot easier, and we can engage with them and without having to actually search each person's name or go back and forth to look at who we've missed. So you're able to engage more. It saves time from looking with them, and it shows that you actually care about them, even if you do have a couple thousand followers or 10,000 followers or more.
Yeah,
I think that's pretty much it with it. It's pretty simple. I mean, it doesn't do anything different except for that you added them to a list. So
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Twitter list is something that is kind of, I feel like it's kind of obscure. Like a lot of people don't know about it. I mean,
Right.
I was on Twitter forever, and I've recently found out about Twitter lists. I knew they were there, but I didn't know how to use them exactly. But I think as a marketer's point of view, you can also have you can create lists so you can curate some content on Twitter. I know Twitter is like going 100 miles an hour. But you can
Right.
still, create these little groups of people who, maybe you want to follow, create this group right here so you can get ideas for something specific, for maybe another client or something like that.
Right. Yeah, it could
yeah.
definitely be used like that to, like you were saying, instead of engaging with your audience, you could, use other people like you to create the content.
Mm-hmm.
It's another way to look at it.
Okay, so moving on to number 6, plan out your social strategy at least a week in advance. So a lot of this stuff that we're talking about too here, when we say, plan your social week in advance, we're talking about maybe 50, 60% of all the stuff that you're going to put out there.
Right.
Because you always want to be engaging with your, audience in real time. But a lot of these things you can, post a week in advance and kind of plan a week in advance. And we do this for some of our clients. And it works out pretty great. It will definitely save you a lot of time too. And you can just, set up a time, maybe Saturday or Sunday, grab a couple hours, organize everything on Buffer or, Hootsuite or whatever other, automation software that you have. And that way, you have the rest of the week to actually respond in real time to things that are happening. So.
Right. And I think that's not necessarily something to save time, but that's something of emphasis that we try to tell people, is that you'll see a bunch of people on Facebook or Twitter or whatever that advocate that they are social media experts or whatever. But if you're a brand manager or you're working a Facebook page or a Twitter page with somebody and you want to actually, make a difference, engage with your audience, so many people put out so much content that it just drowns them out. Like, you want to reply to the mentions, you want to find people in your network. So that's why we only say 50 to 60% of your stuff actually on Hootsuite or Buffer or whatever you use. And the rest of it is just genuinely responding to people who are out there. Okay, so we are on to number 7 now. This is schedule your own time. So this is kind of a segue between scheduling what's going on social media, but also scheduling what's going on in your own calendar. So everybody has a busy life, whether you own your own business, whether you're working with inside of a company or what, you need to set aside the time inside of your schedule. If you're going to have a meeting in the morning, or if you know that you have something else going on later in the afternoon, make sure you schedule that time ahead to make sure that you put the time in on the social media. So if you're not putting the time in, or if you're not scheduling the time, then you'll end up trying to post something later. It won't go out on time. It won't get scheduled within your Hootsuite or Buffer. And then ultimately you fall behind. And that's really where a lot of us feel pressure, is that we're now behind because we weren't able to put the stuff in there. So just creating a calendar, very simple, but just getting yourself organized will help with scheduling for social media too.
Moving on to number 8. So number 8, we have staying up on trends. So that would be, reading blogs, watching webinars, make sure that, you're up to date with everything that's going on the social world, which is kind of counterproductive with what our title is, which is save time on social media, because you have to do all this stuff to stay on top of it. But it'll make sure that, you're staying relevant. You obviously want to save time, so you don't want to post things, out of time or maybe a little bit too late, because social media is always moving. Like I said, 100 miles an hour. So it's very important to set up on trends and make sure that you're always basically educating yourself.
Right. And I think if you set that time again to educate yourself, then you're not running around trying to figure out. So like a real example would be that you want to put something out there for your clients about, how to save time on social media. But if you don't know what's out there and you have to go and research that, last minute, then it's not going to be as effective as, or as time efficient as if you were to do all the research ahead of time, know about the trends that have happened, and then be somebody who explains that topic. So it sounds counterproductive, but at the end of the game, it's like running slow to run fast.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to have the knowledge, and then it just kind of builds upon each other. So staying up on trends. Curate. So this is an app. I actually had never heard of this until recently, but what it is for Instagram and Pinterest predominantly, and it monitors conversations, brands, products, topics, services, basically anything you can think of to provide vital information to businesses. So you can set this up to do something specific to your industry, whether you're in the fashion industry, whether you're in the health industry, and you can find out what's going on, what the trends are for that industry. So when you do tweet and when you do post, it's relevant topics, and you'll get the most engagement. So we're talking about scheduling stuff. If you schedule stuff and nobody sees it, then did you just waste all of your time right there sending out something that nobody engaged with? So this, I believe it is a paid service. I'll have to get a price on that. But there is a free trial with it. And basically, it helps you find influencers and advocates too. So those people could also be like working with you as well as far as putting out content. But I just think it's really nice to see everything for your industry all in one location, so you can actually stay relevant to what people are really looking for. I mean, I'm not into the fashion industry, but if you're just now starting to talk about burlap, then you're kind of behind the game, I guess.
All right. All right. So number 10 would be Google Alerts. This is basically a really simple tool that will save you a lot of searching time, basically. What it allows you to do is it free and it's easy to use, and it allows you to basically monitor certain keywords on social media, whether that be Twitter or Facebook, I'm guessing, right?
Yep.
Basically every time that, maybe the name of your company, Coca-Cola, gets, mentioned, Google Alerts automatically sends you a notification saying like, hey, so-and-so is talking about your brand. And right. It's a great way to stay on top of things and save a lot of time instead of doing all the searching. And I mean, it's a great way to also stay on top of the competition. So if you're interested on, what the competition is talking about, you can also get in on that.
Right. And I mean, obviously if you do something like more specific, it's going to be better. So whether they like use your name or like once you get bigger anyway, or they use your company name, like you'll get a ping and it's like, oh, awesome. I can go and interact with those people simultaneously. So I feel like it's like kind of like a quality reputation management tool as well, or kind of could be used as one. And then number 11 is Go Mobile. So all the apps and websites that we have mentioned have a mobile application. You don't have to wait to be in front of your computer to schedule the post or answer the client's questions. So Christian wrote this one. I actually have not seen too much about this. Can you explain that one? Because I don't really know exactly what all that does.
I mean, it's not necessarily like an app or anything. It's just like, making sure that, I mean, even if you're, you don't have to be sitting in front of your computer to answer your client's questions or get up on Facebook and, try to figure out, if someone left you a review, answer to the people's reviews and all that stuff. If you're on your phone, you're catching a train, you're doing something else, you can download all these applications. You can have, Facebook Pages Manager. You can run the Facebook Ads Manager application right on your phone. And I mean, all these things that you can actually do from your phone. You have Buffer from your phone. I'm pretty sure Hootsuite right from your phone. So you can actually, stay up on top of all this stuff, from your phone or a tablet. So you don't have to be sitting on a desk in front of your computer to do all these things.
Right. Okay. I get what you're saying now. I didn't see that one. So yeah. I think a lot of people that we follow that actually are really engaging, they're doing it whenever most people are just playing around on Facebook or Instagram of their personal accounts while they're like traveling. So if you're sitting in the back seat or the passenger seat, send a video to your customers or, I mean, your clients or anything like that. Check your stats. Doing it then allows you, whenever you're in the office and you have other things going on, or if you want to interact with people in your office, you have meetings, this frees up more time to do those things as well. So, okay. Right. And number 12 is our last one here. It is called Rescue Time. And I recently found out about this one. Basically, it's a back-end software that tracks how much time you spend on each website. So if you find out that you spend 2 hours on Facebook, or you have times that's set out to spend 2 hours on Facebook, but then you really are spending more time on other websites, you can start tracking that, figuring out, okay, I'm actually spending way more time on, Google and email than I actually am on Facebook. So it allows you to stay focused. And the coolest feature that I thought about Rescue Time was the ability to set alerts. So if you say that I'm working on Facebook for 2 hours, or I'm scheduling for this client or for this particular brand for 2 hours, once that 2 hours are up, it will send you a notice on there and say, like, time's up, you're done with Facebook, move on to your next thing. It sends you a Google, no, it's not Google, but a tracking sheet basically to tell you, like, here's all the sites that you've been to, here is how much time you spent on it, and here's all of your data. So you can use that data to figure out where am I spending my time and why am I losing my time. And they also do it for your mobile phone and your tablet, so you can track it across all devices. All right. So that is our show. We'll go ahead and stop the recording. But if anybody has any questions about social media or just in general, we'll stick around to answer those. And if you are just joining us, I wanted to say that we have our YouTube link. I can put that back in there in the comment section. But all the show notes I type up and I'll put on our YouTube link, so you can get that data. If you missed something that we're talking about or interested in an app or something, we'll put all the notes to that in our YouTube setting or our YouTube comment section. All right. Thanks.